Oh boy, I can't wait to see what my favorite YouTubers are thinking. I better check Twitter to see their updates. I bet it will be a fun and not emotionally draining experience.
My legs are tangling off the edge. The bottom of the bottle is
Well, here we are, folks. The finale of Internet Annoyances. Whether it's the season or series finale, I haven't decided yet, but let's not worry about that right now. Today, we're focusing on the biggest beast out of all the ones I've talked about on this show. This one has caused me the most mental anguish over the past couple of years, and made me sow seeds of resentment towards many groups online. These fuckers embittered me to people in general, and while I'm currently working on bettering that whole situation, I see more shit out of this that really makes that process a hell of a lot harder than it needs to be. And you want to know the worst part about it? They're unavoidable if you're on any social media. There are so many people who have been corrupted by these types, you will find them in the comments sections of any topic that's even remotely controversial. The group I'm talking about today consists of every single group I've talked about on this series before, as well as countless others. Over time, this group amalgamated into the disgusting beast we'll be tackling today, something that I like to call the toxic net. With a group so broad, you'll see some of the most cancerous shit, so start praying to whatever higher power you believe in, because this is gonna be one that we may not all come back from.
Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
Now, I know this isn't the exact day that shit hit the fan, but it sure as shit the day I started noticing it. The day was the one where President Pussygrabber announced that he was running for office. And the second that those words left his wrinkly gullet, it was like a switch was flipped to me. After Trump announced it, everyone magically turned into political scholars overnight. Full grown-ass adults started going into hysterics and mentally regressing to a childlike state anytime the name Donald Trump was even said. Kids started parroting the shit they heard at home, regardless of whether or not they knew what they were talking about.
No, I do not support Trump.
Why not?
Because he's just a loser that is gay and has no life.
And to be honest, you can't blame them for it. Instead, blame the adults on both sides of the political spectrum for their shallow attempts at indoctrination. They will never be satisfied until their kids are nothing but smaller versions of them. Forming your own opinions? Fuck that stupid shit! We need to gain more numbers over the other team. By the way, these are teams now. I bet that won't have disastrous consequences on how this country is run at all. Believe me, I am well aware that the political sphere has always been toxic. But as a boy who just turned 14 at the time, I was starting to become more politically aware. And as a result, I'd been exposed to all of that hatred for anyone who disagreed with certain people. Around the time of the 2016 election, I pretty much knew two things about politics. One, Hillary Clinton is a cunt, and two, the Donald is God King Emperor according to every single authority figure I talked to. So yes, because of the fact that my family were all fully on the MAGA side, I was a raging Republican before I even fully understood what most of it meant. Don't worry, my political beliefs have changed and evolved quite a bit from when I was 14, believe it or not, so I'm not a Republican anymore, but Hillary is definitely still a cunt. If you could label me as anything, I'd say I identify the most with the Libertarian Party. I'm a firm believer of the following. So long as you don't hurt yourself or others, I couldn't give any less of a fuck what you do with your life. Which is why I'm pro-free speech, pro-2A, and pro-freedom of religion, and on the opposite side of the spectrum, I'm pro-gay marriage, pro-LGBT equality in general, and while I have complicated feelings regarding abortion, I still feel that you have every right to get one. Sure, I'd say quite a few of my beliefs still sway to the right, but I'm pro-liberty before anything else. Moving on from talking about me, I'd like to highlight my biggest issues with modern political discourse. Let's do that in...
Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
There are some behaviors shown today that absolutely fucking disgust me and cause me to lose any respect for the person that pulls this shit. First of all, I cannot stand the "if you're not with me, you're against me" mentality. Fuck that childish bullshit. People who act like this make it painfully obvious that they have the critical thinking skills of a toddler with half of its brain missing. There is not an issue on this floating garbage heap called Earth that is that black and white. If you think anything is as simple as that, go back to elementary school, or primary school if you're a Brit, because you need to brush up on your comprehension skills. Second of all, the internet and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race's civil discourse. Because why the fuck would you talk to people from different walks of life to try to understand their viewpoints? Nah, fuck that. Too much work. I'd rather just call them fascist and move on, regardless of whether or not I look fucking retarded and cunty while doing so. And don't forget the admins of these social media sites either. They're more to blame for this than anyone else. The biggest offenders here are Twitter and Reddit. The way they're being run today, it seems like they're only concerned with silencing the opinions of anyone who disagrees with them politically, effectively setting up an echo chamber with each Twitter thread or subreddit. Hell, even the CEOs aren't as concerned with protecting human rights as they are with sucking the cocks of whoever throws the biggest bag of cash onto their desks. Because after all, companies like Blizzard seem to run exclusively on Chinese blood money these days. In return, all they have to do is silence activists in the Free Hong Kong movement and make sure all the pro-human rights propaganda is promptly snuffed out. After all, we can't have people challenging our authority or anything. And on that note, why is being challenged on your own beliefs a bad thing anymore? Is it because you can't back it up and your beliefs are so goddamn fragile that they'll fall apart under the slightest bit of pushback? Is it that these people are afraid of personal growth or something? I don't fucking get it. Evolving your political beliefs is not a bad thing. It's a part of life that you need to accept. And here's another thing people need to accept while we're at it. You are not the main character of life. There are around 8 billion people in the world today. That's 8 billion different life experiences forming 8 billion different sets of beliefs. And you think yours and yours alone is the one that's 100% correct? Well, if so, schedule an appointment with your local proctologist to see if they can remove your head from your own ass. You are not the most important person on Earth. You are only one of around 8 billion. Fucking act like it.
Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
Another source of this kind of mentality is internet-induced narcissism. Allow me to explain. Most of these social media sites have a particular format to them. Most show how many likes each post can get, but you never seem to see the dislikes. This inflates one's ego and makes them think, wow, I must be God's gift to humanity when my opinions get this many likes. But with YouTube hiding dislikes recently, it makes it a hell of a lot harder to avoid this outcome. Mark my words, this decision is gonna start giving a lot of YouTubers pretty swelled heads. You know, more than there already are. And I know what you're thinking. But Mike, what about comments? You can still criticize them there. But can you really? I don't know about you guys, but regardless of the fact that I press the button to allow all comments every time I post a video, YouTube still automatically deletes every comment that's even slightly negative. And on that note, YouTube needs to fucking stop that. Allow all comments means allow all fucking comments. Unlike Chancellor Susan, I still value freedom of speech. I'd at least understand it if racial slurs were being spammed in the comments section, but that's never the case with me. It's always people saying that they hate my videos and that they're shit. And that's fine. I want them to think I'm shit, and I want them to be able to say that. The last thing I want is for my channel to be an echo chamber. I want free discussion here. Alright, I strayed way too far off the path I set, so let's get back on track here. With nothing but positive reinforcement, people become a lot more narcissistic. Criticism and hate comments are 100% necessary. When you get those, you know you're doing something right. Without them, you get this mentality that you and you alone are always right, which leads to being an absolute toxic douchebag elsewhere on the internet. I've seen this a million times before. Someone makes a shit take on Twitter, hordes of people clown on them and tell them that their take is shit, and instead of realizing that they're the problem, they start swinging around the banhammer and block anyone who disagrees with them. After all, how dare these fucking peasants disagree with me? Don't they know who I am? I'm Tommy Fucknut69420. I'm the smartest person on the internet, and anyone who disagrees with me is a fascist alt-right Nazi troll who needs to be silenced. Yeah, great mentality to have on the web. It's like everyone's turning into Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something.
I am the king of the mountaintop. I reign supreme over everyone in this school. I am the golden god of this place. I reign supreme.
If this applies to you, knock off the fucking god complex, as I'm about to elaborate on.
Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
You are not special. You will never be special. You never were special. If you think you are, then the only kind of special that you are is the kind that had to wear a bike helmet to school every day. These words are something that everyone needs to hear at least once in their lives. Like I said a little bit ago, you are only one of 8 billion people on this planet, and you most certainly are not the main character of life. I get it. Your parents always said that you were special and important as a kid, and you genuinely believed it, and let that dictate how your childhood went. And now that you're out in the real world, there isn't a damn soul that gives you the same amount of attention as your parents did. And as a result, you either ended up an underachiever or a full-blown attention whore. That's the case for many on the web, and it shows through some of their tweets. Since this video's topic is so fucking broad, I want to highlight a few tweets that scream, "I am a toxic asshole." So this first one is someone who wore out his welcome ages ago and now spends all his free time getting into Twitter arguments with a middle-aged gnome. Anyway, he talked with Jordan Peterson a couple years back, I guess, and kept that interview up all this time, only to delete it recently due to Peterson supposedly being a pipeline to the alt-right. Really? This monotone Ben Stein-sounding motherfucker is such a dangerous racist? Tell the real story here, Ethan. Fighting with Keemstar only gets you so much clout, so you morally grandstand against this boring old man to get extra internet points from people who still genuinely believe that Jordan fucking Peterson poses any threat to anyone. Stop attention seeking for 5 fucking minutes and go tend to your wife that looks like she's ready to smash the local village and devour the townspeople. The next example is actually a group of people. Now, I'm not exactly the president of Vosh's fan club / commune, but I actually found myself defending him this time. He made an extremely tame joke about not wanting to go vegan because cream cheese exists, and my old nemesis, the vegans, decided that this was enough to go for his throat. Honestly, the fact that Vosh says shit like this despite fully knowing what goes on in the dairy industry, whether it's jokingly or seriously, is fucking disturbing. Time to grow up, Ian. Why are you still breastfeeding on cow's milk? That probably explains why you wanted the age of consent to be lowered. It's because you're acting like a baby. Stop acting like a colonialist towards animals. Also, the political compass is dead. #vegan. So vegans are still incredibly childish and melodramatic. Glad to see that some things never change. And the last example I want to bring up is everyone who says that gatekeeping is good. Shut the fuck up, you greasy fucking neckbeards. These random ass people don't need your permission to enjoy the same thing you do. Imagine being so fucking entitled that you try to push people out of your fandom for not meeting your standards of what a true fan should be. Unless these new guys are actively harassing others in the community or being an actual harm to it, they don't deserve to be cast out of the fandom. The only time that gatekeeping has ever been okay was when the Alphabet Gang kept the zoo files and maps out of their community. Here's a counterpoint for everyone saying that I shouldn't be allowed to take part in their thing. Go fuck yourself. I'll do what I want. You can't stop me from enjoying what I want. Eat a bag of gangrenous dicks.
Good, I interest you in everything, all of the time. A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
This entire fucking episode was full of obvious shit. You've seen it all before, haven't you? You've seen how shittily people are treated when it's all behind a screen. On the internet, everyone's a badass tough guy who could beat the shit out of 20 guys and fuck your mom all in one night. You aren't a person behind that anime girl profile pic of yours. You're just a number, an NPC in their own little world. You are nothing past your profile to them, and this gives them free rein to ruin your life. And that's not me being overdramatic either. Instances of that have happened multiple times over the years, and they just get fucking forgotten about. If some crazy Twitter denizen honestly wanted to, they'd have your full name, IP address, bank statements, and the name of the person you lost your fucking virginity to, and it wouldn't take much to get all that info either. And when you're not worrying about that, you're exposed to the most brain-dead takes you've ever seen on the web. And don't try to call them out on it either, because the only result you'll get from that is that you'll get blocked, and they'll maintain their echo chamber of misinformation and retardation. And Vishnu fucking forbid you ever live a different lifestyle to someone else. Haven't you heard? That one particular dipshit's lifestyle is the only one that matters. If you don't follow every single thing that they do to a T, you are worse than Hitler, Stalin, and Ellen DeGeneres combined. So if you want to avoid all that, what can you do? Just block others and mute words related to whatever is unpleasant to you? Well, you can try, but that shit is a lot like pushing a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down at the end of the night. You are wasting your time. You can try to ignore it, but that'll only work for so long. Eventually, something you come across will be enough for you to go right back into the cesspool you are trying to crawl out of. It seems that there's only one way anymore to avoid toxicity on the internet, and that's to stay off the internet. However, the times they are a-fucking changing, and the internet is pretty much required to maintain most jobs nowadays, so as time goes on, it's getting harder and harder to stay off of it. So that brings us down to only one answer. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing you can do to avoid it. We are so reliant on the internet to get through our lives that it's pretty much a part of us now. I guess the only thing you can do is try not to let shit bother you too much. Yep, there's your big revelation. There's no avoidance of an internet annoyance. I'm Mike Osiris, and I'm going back under.